Winters, a tech billionaire whose empire was built on innovation but whose personal life was an empty castle. Through digital pixels and vulnerable truths, two broken souls would find what they never knew they were searching for. Sitting on the edge of her bathtub in a cramped apartment that smelled perpetually of the Thai restaurant below, Emma stared at the pregnancy test in her trembling hands. Two pink lines. Unmistakable. Final. "No, no, no," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the dripping faucet. The 28-year-old elementary school art teacher, with student loans that seemed to multiply faster than her bank balance, felt the walls of her tiny bathroom closing in. She hadn't planned this, any of it. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The father was Marcus, a charming photographer she'd met at an art exhibition. 4 months of passionate romance that ended when he accepted a prestigious year-long assignment in Southeast Asia. "I'll call every day," he'd promised at the airport, kissing her deeply. 3 weeks had passed without a single message. Emma's hands shook as she picked up her phone. She needed to tell someone, anyone. The weight of this secret was already crushing her chest, making it difficult to breathe. With blurry vision, she snapped a photo of the test, selected what she thought was her best friend Olivia's contact, and typed quickly, "I'm pregnant. I'm terrified. I don't know what to do." She hit send and dropped the phone onto the bathroom counter as if it had burned her fingers. Then she slid down against the wall, hugging her knees to her chest, letting the tears flow freely. What Emma didn't realize was that in her panicked state, her trembling finger had tapped one name above Olivia in her contacts. 34 floors above Manhattan's bustling streets, Gabriel Winters sat in his minimalist office, the wall of windows offering a sweeping view of the city he barely noticed anymore. At 35, he had transformed WinterTech from a startup in his garage to a $78 billion company specializing in cutting-edge medical technology. Forbes had him on their cover last month. His net worth had recently crossed into 11 figures. On paper, Gabriel Winters had everything. The reality was much darker. 2 years ago, his wife Catherine had left, unable to endure another round of failed fertility treatments. "I need someone who can give me a family," she'd said, removing her wedding ring as casually as taking off a coat. The irony wasn't lost on him. He was the one with the fertility issues. Yet she'd walked away as if he'd chosen this path deliberately. Since then, Gabriel had buried himself in work, purchasing a penthouse that echoed with emptiness and filling his calendar with meetings that stretched into the night. He'd locked away dreams of fatherhood behind firewalls of spreadsheets and acquisition deals. His phone vibrated against his desk. Probably his assistant with another meeting request. He glanced down, surprised to see a text from an unknown number. When he opened it, something inside him went still. A photo of a positive pregnancy test. Below it, raw desperation in 7 words. "I'm pregnant. I'm terrified. I don't know what to do." Gabriel stared at the screen, an unexpected ache filling his chest. His first thought was spam. Some strange new scam. But something about the message felt too authentic, too vulnerable. The simple admission of fear, the unadorned plea for help with no specific ask attached. He should ignore it. Delete it. It was clearly meant for someone else. Instead, he found himself typing, "I don't know who you are, but I received your message. If you're looking for someone to listen without judgment, I'm here. Sometimes a stranger is easier to talk to than those closest to us." His finger hovered over the send button. This was ridiculous. And yet, he pressed send. Emma had finally pulled herself together enough to splash cold water on her face when her phone chimed. Olivia, finally responding. She picked it up, ready for her friend's characteristic mix of practical advice and comforting words. Instead, she saw a response from a number she didn't recognize. Horror washed over her as she realized what had happened. She'd sent her most private moment to a complete stranger. She read the response, expecting mockery or... Emma Castillo never imagined that a desperate pregnancy test photo sent to a wrong number would change her life forever. The stranger who received it wasn't just any man. He was Gabriel something inappropriate. The kindness in the reply caught her completely off guard. "I don't know who you are, but I received your message. If you're looking for someone to listen without judgment, I'm here." Sometimes a stranger is easier to talk to than those closest to us. Humiliation burned through her, followed quickly by suspicion. Who responds like that to a wrong number? It had to be some kind of bizarre come on or scam. She typed back, "I'm sorry, that wasn't meant for you. Please delete it." The response came almost immediately. "Of course, I understand. But my offer stands if you need it." Everyone deserves to have someone in their corner. Emma sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the message. There was something about it that seemed strangely genuine. After a moment of hesitation, she typed again. "Why would you want to help someone you don't even know?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. "Because 18 months ago, I was sitting alone in my car at 3 a.m., contemplating driving off the George Washington Bridge. A text from a colleague checking on a project report came through. That random message pulled me back from the edge. Sometimes the universe puts the right people in our path exactly when we need them." Emma's breath caught. The raw honesty in the message disarmed her completely. She hesitated, then decided just a first name couldn't hurt. "I'm Emma." "Gabriel. And I meant what I said, Emma. No pressure, no expectations. Just someone to listen." Such a simple exchange, but it opened a floodgate. Before she knew it, Emma was pouring out her heart to this stranger. How terrified she was of raising a child alone. How her teaching salary barely covered her own expenses. How Marcus had disappeared, and how ashamed she felt for not being more careful. Gabriel's responses were thoughtful, never pushy or judgmental. He asked questions that made her think, offered gentle perspective, and most importantly, he listened. When she finally checked the time, she was shocked to see they'd been texting for nearly 2 hours. "I should go," she wrote. "Thank you for being kind. I'm still embarrassed, but it helped to talk." Don't be embarrassed. Life throws curveballs at all of us. You can message me anytime, Emma. I mean that. She put her phone down, not sure if she would ever text him again, but somehow feeling a little less alone in the universe. 4 days later, Emma found herself staring at her phone, Gabriel's number on the screen. She'd made an appointment with an obstetrician for the following week, and the anxiety was overwhelming. Before she could talk herself out of it, she sent a message. "Do you still mean what you said about listening?" His reply came within minutes. "Absolutely." And just like that, they started talking regularly. She never told him her last name or where she lived exactly, and he never asked. He seemed content with the boundaries she set, which made her feel safe enough to keep opening up. Gabriel was easy to talk to. He never tried to tell her what to do about the baby. He just asked thoughtful questions and offered support. When she told him she was keeping the baby, he simply said, "You're stronger than you realize, Emma, and you're not doing this alone anymore." After 3 weeks of texting, he suggested they talk on the phone. Emma was hesitant but agreed. Hearing his voice for the first time, deep with a slight New England accent, made him suddenly real in a way their texts hadn't. "I have my first ultrasound tomorrow," she told him during their 3rd call. "I'm nervous." "What are you most worried about?" he asked. "Everything," she admitted with a small laugh. "What if something's wrong? What if the doctor judges me for being single and broke? What if I faint during the blood test?" "All valid concerns," Gabriel said, his voice warm. "But you'll get through it, one step at a time." She took a deep breath. "I wish I had someone to go with me." The silence that followed lasted just a beat too long. "I could go with you," Gabriel offered finally, "if you wanted." Emma's heart raced. Meet him in person? This stranger who had become her confidant? It seemed crazy, dangerous even, but something in her trusted him. "You would do that?" "Of course," he said simply. No pressure, just an offer. Emma thought about going into that office alone, facing all those questions and tests by herself. "Okay," she said before she could change her mind. Yes, I'd like that. They arranged to meet outside the doctor's office. Emma gave him the address and time, then spent the entire night wondering if she was making a huge mistake. She told Olivia where she was going and who she was meeting, just in case this Gabriel turned out to be a predator. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The next morning, Emma arrived at the medical building 20 minutes early, her stomach in knots. She paced outside, rehearsing what she would say when she saw him. Should she hug him? Shake his hand? What if he looked nothing like she'd imagined? Emma? She turned toward the voice and froze. The man approaching her was tall, with broad shoulders and dark hair threaded with silver at the temples. He wore a simple blue button-down and jeans, but there was something about him, maybe his posture or the quiet confidence in his stride that made him stand out. His eyes were a striking cobalt blue, and they looked at her with genuine concern. "Gabriel?" she asked, though she already knew it was him. He smiled, the expression transforming his serious face. "It's good to finally meet you in person." "You too," she managed, suddenly feeling shy. "Thank you for coming." "Thank you for trusting me," he countered, stopping a respectful distance from her. "How are you feeling?" "Terrified," she admitted. He nodded. "That's understandable. But you're not alone anymore. I'm right here with you." As they walked into the building together, Emma couldn't explain the strange sense of calm that came over her. She'd known this man for less than a month. They'd met because of a wrong number. She knew almost nothing about him. And yet somehow she believed him when he said she wasn't alone. For the first time since seeing those two pink lines, Emma felt like, maybe, just maybe, everything might be okay. The doctor's office was busy that morning. Emma filled out paperwork while Gabriel sat quietly beside her, not intruding but present. When the nurse called her name, Emma hesitated. "Would you like me to come in with you?" Gabriel asked softly. "Would that be weird?" Emma whispered, clutching her purse. "I mean, we just met in person." "It's whatever you're comfortable with," he said. "I can wait here or come with you. No pressure." Emma thought for a moment. Maybe just for the talking part, not the exam? Gabriel nodded. Of course. In the consultation room, Dr. Rivera raised an eyebrow when Emma introduced Gabriel simply as a friend, but didn't comment further. The doctor confirmed Emma's pregnancy, about 9 weeks along, and walked through what to expect in the coming months. "Do you have any questions?" Dr. Rivera asked. Emma's mind went blank. There were 1,000 things she wanted to know, but she couldn't form a single coherent thought. "What about nutrition?" Gabriel spoke up. "Are there specific things she should be eating or avoiding?" Dr. Rivera smiled and launched into recommendations about prenatal vitamins, foods rich in folic acid, and the importance of staying hydrated. As the doctor continued, Gabriel pulled out his phone and began taking notes. Emma watched him, touched by the gesture. When had anyone ever taken notes for her before? After the consultation, Gabriel waited in the lobby while Emma had her exam. When she emerged 45 minutes later, he was still there, reading a parenting magazine with complete absorption. "Everything okay?" he asked, standing up when he saw her. Emma nodded, holding up a small printout. "I got to hear the heartbeat," she said, her voice wobbling slightly. "And they gave me this." Gabriel looked at the grainy ultrasound image, his expression softening. "That's incredible, Emma." Outside the office, they stood awkwardly on the sidewalk. Emma wasn't sure what happened next. Was this it? Would they go back to just texting? "Have you had lunch?" Gabriel asked, breaking the silence. "No, actually. I was too nervous to eat this morning." "There's a good cafe around the corner. Would you like to join me?" The cafe was cozy and not too crowded. Over soup and sandwiches, their conversation flowed more easily than Emma had expected. Gabriel asked about her work as an art teacher. and she found herself telling him about her students and her own dreams of opening a small gallery someday. "What about you?" she finally asked. "I've been talking about myself this whole time." "What do you do?" A shadow crossed Gabriel's face. "I work in technology," he said simply. "Medical devices, mostly." "That sounds complicated," Emma said with a small smile. "Sometimes, but I like it," he hesitated, then added. "I like helping people live longer, healthier lives." There was something he wasn't saying, Emma could tell. But she didn't push. After all, they were still practically strangers. As they finished their meal, Gabriel pulled out his phone where he'd written the doctor's advice. "I made notes for you," he said, sending her the file. Emma looked down at the comprehensive list he'd created. He'd organized everything into categories: nutrition, symptoms to watch for, important dates, recommended tests. "Thank you," she said, genuinely touched, "for all of this, for coming with me today." "It was my pleasure," he said, his eyes meeting hers. "And I meant what I said before. You're not alone in this, Emma, not if you don't want to be." Over the next few weeks, Gabriel became a constant presence in Emma's life. They texted daily and spoke on the phone most evenings. When Emma mentioned struggling with morning sickness, a package arrived at her apartment the next day with ginger tea, sea bands, and lemon drops. When she worried about affording baby supplies, Gabriel sent her links to second-hand shops and budget-friendly registries. He never pushed too hard or moved too fast. He seemed content to follow Emma's lead, which she appreciated more than she could say. One Saturday morning, 3 weeks after the doctor's appointment, Emma's phone rang. It was Gabriel. "I'm at the farmer's market on River Street," he said without preamble. "They have these incredible strawberries that I thought you might like. Are you free to meet up?" 20 minutes later, Emma found him examining tomatoes at a produce stand. He was dressed casually in jeans and a simple gray t-shirt that fit him well. Too well, if she was being honest with herself. "Testing for ripeness?" she asked, coming up beside him. He turned, his face lighting up when he saw her. "Emma, you made it. I was promised incredible strawberries," she teased. "How could I resist?" They spent the morning wandering through the market. Gabriel bought her the strawberries, which were indeed amazing, along with fresh bread and some local honey. When they passed a booth selling handmade baby blankets, he noticed Emma's gaze lingering on a seafoam green one with tiny silver stars. "Do you like that one?" he asked quietly. "It's beautiful," she admitted, "but way out of my budget right now." Gabriel looked like he wanted to say something, but instead just nodded and guided her to the next booth. Later, as they sat on a park bench eating their strawberries, Emma found herself studying Gabriel's profile. There was something almost regal about him. The straight nose, the strong jawline, the way he carried himself. Yet he never made her feel less than or judged for her circumstances. "Can I ask you something personal?" she said suddenly. He turned to face her. "Of course. Why are you doing all this, helping me, spending time with me? You don't have to." Gabriel was quiet for a moment, considering her question. "When I got your text that day," he said finally, "something about it just resonated with me. I can't really explain it, but I felt like maybe there was a reason it came to me instead of your friend." "So it's like fate or something?" Emma asked, raising an eyebrow. He laughed softly. "I don't know about fate, but I do believe that sometimes people come into our lives exactly when we need them." "And you needed me?" she challenged. His smile faded, replaced by something more vulnerable. "Maybe I did," he admitted. "My life before, it was empty in a lot of ways. Just work and more work. You gave me something else to think about, someone else to care about." The honesty in his voice caught Emma off guard. She looked down at her hands, unsure how to respond. "I'm not trying to pressure you," Gabriel added quickly. "I just want you to know that this isn't charity or pity. I genuinely enjoy spending time with you, Emma." She looked up at him, finding nothing but sincerity in his cobalt blue eyes. "I enjoy spending time with you too," she said softly. As Emma entered her second trimester, the morning sickness finally began to subside. She had more energy and found herself looking forward to the future rather than dreading it. Gabriel had become an integral part of her life. though she still maintained some boundaries. They had never been to each other's homes, for instance, and there were topics they both seemed to avoid. One evening, they were having dinner at a small Italian restaurant when Emma's phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. "Everything okay?" Gabriel asked, noticing her frown. "It's my friend Olivia. She wants to meet you," Emma said, looking up from her phone. "She says she's tired of hearing about Mystery Man and needs to see if you're real." Gabriel's eyes crinkled with amusement. "Mystery Man, huh?" Emma blushed. "She exaggerates." "I'd be happy to meet her," he said. "Whenever you're comfortable with that." "Really? You wouldn't mind?" He shook his head. "Not at all. She's important to you." The following weekend, they met Olivia for brunch at a cafe near Emma's apartment. Olivia arrived first, texting Emma that she'd grabbed a table by the window. "Ready?" Gabriel asked as they approached the cafe. Emma nodded, though her stomach was doing flips. Olivia was protective and didn't trust easily. What if she didn't like Gabriel? Olivia stood up when she saw them, her eyes widening slightly as she took in Gabriel. Emma made the introductions, watching nervously as her best friend sized him up. "So you're the wrong number guy?" Olivia said, shaking his hand. "That's me?" Gabriel replied with an easy smile. "It's nice to meet you, Olivia. Emma speaks highly of you." They settled into their seats, and to Emma's relief, the conversation flowed naturally. Olivia asked about Gabriel's work, and he gave the same vague answer he'd given Emma about medical technology. "Sounds interesting," Olivia commented. "Do you work for a big firm?" "I have my own company, actually," Gabriel said, looking slightly uncomfortable. "It's relatively small." Olivia nodded, though Emma could tell her friend was curious about the details Gabriel wasn't sharing. After brunch, Olivia insisted on helping Emma to the bathroom, a transparent excuse to talk privately. "Okay, Spill," Olivia demanded once they were alone. "Who is this guy really?" "What do you mean?" Emma asked, confused. "Emma, that man is not running some relatively small company," Olivia said, making air quotes. "His watch costs more than my car." "What? No way," Emma laughed. "I'm serious. That's a Patek Philippe. My ex was obsessed with luxury watches. They start at like $20,000. Emma stared at her friend. "That can't be right. Gabriel's nice, but he's not. I mean, he never acts like he's loaded," Olivia finished for her. "That's exactly my point. Why is he hiding it?" The question haunted Emma for the rest of the day. When Gabriel dropped her off at her apartment building, she almost asked him about it, but couldn't find the right words. Later that night, curiosity got the better of her. She opened her laptop and typed, quote, "Gabriel Winters Technology" into the search bar, not really expecting anything significant to come up. What she found left her speechless. Gabriel Winters wasn't just successful. He was one of the wealthiest men in America. Forbes articles, business profiles, photos of him at galas and economic forums, they all painted a picture of a technological visionary. WinterTech specialized in revolutionary medical devices that had changed thousands of lives. The company was valued at $78 billion, with offices in 12 countries. And he had never said a word about any of it. Emma sat back, trying to make sense of it all. Why would someone like Gabriel Winters take an interest in her problems? Why would he spend his Saturday mornings at farmers markets with a pregnant art teacher when he could be flying private jets or sailing on yachts? More importantly, why had he hidden who he really was? She picked up her phone, intending to confront him, but stopped herself. She needed time to think, to process this revelation. One thing was certain. Nothing about their relationship was what she had thought. Gabriel knew something was wrong the moment Emma canceled their plans to visit a baby store the next day. Her text was brief and unusually formal. "Something came up. Can't make it tomorrow. Sorry." He tried calling, but she didn't answer. When he texted to ask if everything was okay, her response was equally terse. "Just need some space." 3 days passed with minimal communication. Gabriel respected her request for space, though it worried him. Had he done something wrong? Was she having second thoughts about letting him into her life? On the 4th day, his phone rang. Emma's name lit up the screen. "Emma," he answered immediately. "Are you okay?" "We need to talk," she said, her voice cool. "Can you meet me at Riverfront Park by the fountain?" Of course. What time? An hour from now. The park was quiet when Gabriel arrived, just a few joggers and people walking their dogs. He spotted Emma sitting on a bench near the fountain, her copper hair bright in the afternoon sun. As he approached, he could see the tension in her shoulders. "Thank you for coming," she said, not quite meeting his eyes. Gabriel sat beside her, leaving a respectful distance between them. "What's going on, Emma? I've been worried about you." She turned to face him, her green eyes hard. "Why didn't you tell me who you really are?" The question hit him like a physical blow. For a moment, he couldn't speak. "I looked you up," Emma continued, her voice rising slightly. "Gabriel Winters, billionaire CEO of WinterTech. You're practically a household name in the tech world. And you never thought to mention it?" Gabriel closed his eyes briefly. "I was going to tell you." "When?" she interrupted. "After I'd told you every detail of my struggling, ordinary life? Was this all some kind of charity project for you?" "No," he said firmly. "Absolutely not." "Then what?" she demanded. "What possible reason could you have for hiding something like that from me?" Gabriel took a deep breath. "When I got your text that day, it was the first time in years that someone had reached out to me, even accidentally, without knowing who I was or what I could do for them." He looked out at the fountain, gathering his thoughts. "My whole life, people have wanted something from me. Money, connections, status. My last relationship." He paused, pain flickering across his face. "Catherine left me 2 years ago after we found out I couldn't give her children. At least that's what she said. But I always suspected it was also because the fertility treatments were affecting the company's stock price." Emma's expression softened slightly, but she remained silent. "With you," Gabriel continued, "it was different. You didn't know who I was. You weren't impressed by my name or my bank account. You were just you. And the more I got to know you, the more I feared that telling you would change everything." "So you lied to me," Emma said flatly. "I never lied," he countered. "I just didn't tell you everything. I do work in technology. I am involved in medical devices. I just omitted the scale." Emma stood up abruptly. "That's still lying, Gabriel. And it makes me wonder what else you've been hiding." She began to walk away, but Gabriel rose and caught up to her. "Emma, please. I made a mistake. I should have told you sooner, but nothing else I've shared with you has been anything but the truth." She stopped walking but didn't turn around. "I don't know if I can believe that." "What can I do?" he asked, desperation creeping into his voice. "How can I make this right?" Emma finally turned to face him, tears in her eyes. "I don't know if you can. I've been let down by too many people, Gabriel. I can't do it again. Especially not now." She rested a hand on her stomach, which was just beginning to show the slightest curve. "I thought you were different," she said quietly. "I thought you were someone I could trust." As she walked away, Gabriel stood frozen, watching her go. For the first time in his carefully controlled life, he had no idea what to do next. All he knew was that he couldn't lose her. Not when he'd finally found something, someone, real. A week passed, and Emma heard nothing from Gabriel. She told herself it was better this way. Clean break, no complications. She could focus on preparing for the baby and forget about the man who had briefly made her believe in something more. But forgetting Gabriel was harder than she expected. She missed his daily texts, his thoughtful questions, the way he seemed to anticipate her needs before she even voiced them. Several times she found herself reaching for her phone to tell him something, only to remember they weren't speaking. Olivia tried to cheer her up, suggesting they go shopping for baby things. "I don't have the money for that right now," Emma said as they sat in her tiny living room. "I need to save everything I can." "You could always call him," Olivia suggested gently. "He clearly cares about you." Emma shook her head. "He lied to me, Olivia. How am I supposed to trust him after that?" "Did he, though?" "From what you told me, he just didn't volunteer information about being rich." "It's a pretty big thing to leave out," Emma argued. Olivia shrugged. "Maybe, but think about it from his perspective. People probably try to use him for his money all the time. And you did say he was married before and it ended badly." Emma sighed, running a hand over her face. "It doesn't matter anyway. He hasn't tried to contact me, so he's probably moved on already." "Or he's respecting your request for space," Olivia countered. "Look, I'm not saying you have to forgive him, but at least hear him out before you make any final decisions." Later that night, Emma sat on her bed staring at her phone. Her finger hovered over Gabriel's name in her contacts. Pride told her not to call. Pride told her she was better off without his complications in her life. But something else, something that felt a lot like her heart, whispered that maybe, just maybe, what they had was worth fighting for. Before she could change her mind, she typed a message. "I think we should talk. Can you meet tomorrow?" His response came almost immediately. "Name the time and place. I'll be there." The coffee shop was busy with the morning rush. When Emma arrived, she spotted Gabriel instantly, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups in front of him. He stood when he saw her, his expression a mixture of hope and uncertainty. "I got you herbal tea," he said as she approached. "The ginger one you like." "Thank you," Emma said quietly, taking the seat across from him. For a moment, neither spoke. Gabriel looked tired, Emma noticed. There were shadows under his eyes, and his usual impeccable appearance seemed slightly rumpled. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," he said finally. "I've been going crazy this past week." "Me too," she admitted, wrapping her hands around the warm cup. "I've been doing a lot of thinking." "So have I," he said. "Emma, I want to apologize. You were right. I should have been honest with you from the beginning. I was just afraid." "Afraid of what?" Gabriel's eyes met hers. "Afraid that if you knew who I was, what I had, you'd see me differently. That you'd stop seeing me at all and only see what I could give you." "That's not fair," Emma said, feeling a flash of anger. "I never asked you for anything." "I know that," he said quickly. "That's exactly why I—" He trailed off, then started again. "After Catherine left, I shut down. Work became everything. I convinced myself I didn't need connection, that I was better off alone. And then I got your text." Emma listened, her anger softening despite herself. For the first time in years, someone needed me. Just me, not my money or my influence. And the more I got to know you, the more He hesitated. "The more I cared about you. I was afraid to ruin that by telling you the truth." "So you thought you'd just never tell me?" Emma asked. "That doesn't make sense, Gabriel." "No, of course not," he said, shaking his head. "I was waiting for the right time. I wanted you to know me, the real me, before you knew about the rest of it." Emma considered his words. There was a certain logic to them, even if she didn't completely agree with his approach. "I understand why you did it," she said finally, "but it still hurt to find out that way. To realize there was this huge part of your life you were keeping from me." "I know," he said, his voice low with regret. "And I'm truly sorry for that." Emma took a sip of her tea, using the moment to gather her thoughts. "I need to know something," she said finally. "Why me? With all the people you could have in your life, why get involved with a broke, pregnant art teacher with student debt and a tiny apartment?" Gabriel's expression softened. "Because you're real, Emma. You're genuine in a way that most people in my world aren't. You care about things that matter, art and your students and connections, not status or money. And from the moment we met, I felt like I could breathe around you, like I could just be myself, not the version of me that everyone expects." His words touched something deep inside her, but Emma wasn't ready to surrender just yet. "If we were to try again," she said carefully, "I'd need complete honesty from now on. No more hiding things, no matter how uncomfortable." "Absolutely," Gabriel agreed immediately. "Total transparency. And I need you to understand that I don't want your money," Emma continued. "I'm not with you for what you can give me or buy me. I need to do this, raise this baby, build my life on my own terms." "I respect that," he said. "But Emma, being there for someone doesn't always mean financially. It means showing up, listening, supporting their dreams. That's what I want to do for you, if you'll let me." Emma felt the walls around her heart beginning to crumble. There was such sincerity in his eyes, such genuine care in his voice. "I've missed you," she admitted softly. Gabriel reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of hers. "I've missed you too, more than I thought possible." Slowly, deliberately, Emma moved her hand until her fingers touched his. It was a small gesture, but it felt like a new beginning. Over the next 2 months, Emma and Gabriel rebuilt their relationship, this time on a foundation of complete honesty. True to his word, Gabriel answered all of Emma's questions about his life and work. She learned about his childhood as the son of immigrants who had sacrificed everything to give him educational opportunities, about the early years of struggling to get his company off the ground, and about the painful end of his marriage. In return, Emma opened up more about her own past, her father's absence, her mother's struggle with depression, and her determination to create a different life for her own child. As Emma entered her 6th month of pregnancy, Gabriel became even more attentive. He attended every doctor's appointment, read all the same parenting books she did, and even took a weekend birthing class with her, much to the amusement of the other couples. "You realize everyone thinks you're the father?" Emma whispered during a break in the class. Gabriel smiled. "Does that bother you?" She considered the question. "No," she said honestly, "it doesn't." One Saturday afternoon, Gabriel suggested they go for a drive. "There's something I want to show you," he said, a hint of nervousness in his voice. He drove them to a quiet residential neighborhood about 20 minutes from Emma's apartment. The houses were modest but well-maintained, with tidy yards and tree-lined streets. "What are we doing here?" Emma asked as Gabriel parked in front of a small yellow house with a white picket fence. "Come see," he said, coming around to open her door. They walked up the path to the front porch, where Gabriel pulled out a key and unlocked the door. "Gabriel," Emma said slowly, "whose house is this?" He held the door open for her. "Why don't you look around and then we can talk?" Confused but curious, Emma stepped inside. The house was empty of furniture, but filled with light from large windows. There was a cozy living room with a fireplace, a kitchen with new appliances, and down a short hallway 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. One of the bedrooms was painted a soft blue with white built-in bookshelves along one wall. A beautiful wooden rocking chair sat in the corner by the window, the only piece of furniture in the entire house. "Gabriel," Emma said, turning to find him watching her from the doorway. "What is this place?" "It's a house," he said simply. "I can see that," she replied, rolling her eyes. "But why are we here?" Gabriel took a deep breath. "I bought it," he admitted. "For me?" "Well, for you and the baby." Emma stared at him, speechless. "Before you say anything," he continued quickly, "I know you want to do things on your own. I respect that. This isn't me trying to take over or make decisions for you. It's just, your apartment is a 4th-floor walk-up with no elevator. In a few months, that's going to be really difficult with a newborn. This place is 1 level, in a safe neighborhood, close to good schools. And there's a small art gallery for sale just 3 blocks away that would be perfect for someone with your knowledge and passion." Emma leaned against the wall, feeling overwhelmed. "Gabriel, I can't accept this. It's too much." "You don't have to decide right now," he said, "and you don't have to accept it as a gift. We could work out a rent arrangement or a rent-to-own situation, whatever makes you comfortable. I want you and the baby to be safe and happy." Emma looked around the sunny room, trying to imagine herself living there, raising her child in this house. It was exactly the kind of home she'd always dreamed of having but never thought she could afford. "The gallery," she said finally. "Is it really for sale?" Gabriel nodded. "East Side Art Gallery. The owner is retiring after 35 years. It's a neighborhood institution." Emma's heart raced at the thought. Her own gallery. A real home for her baby. It was everything she wanted but was afraid to hope for. "This is a lot to process," she said honestly. "I know," Gabriel acknowledged. "Take all the time you need. No pressure." As they were leaving, Emma paused on the front porch, looking back at the house. "Why the rocking chair?" she asked. "In the blue room." A shadow crossed Gabriel's face. "It was my grandmother's," he said quietly. "She came to this country with nothing but that chair and a suitcase. She used to rock me to sleep in it and tell me stories about her homeland. After she died, I kept it, even though I never thought I'd have a use for it." The personal significance of the gesture touched Emma deeply. This wasn't just Gabriel throwing money at her problems. This was him sharing a piece of his heart, his history. On the drive back to her apartment, Emma was quiet, lost in thought. When Gabriel pulled up outside her building, he turned to her. "I know it's a lot," he said softly. "And if it's too much, I understand. But I want you to know that whatever you decide about the house, it doesn't change how I feel about you." Emma looked at him, really looked at him. Beyond the wealth and the status was a man who had been hurt, who had closed himself off from the world, but who had somehow found the courage to open his heart again, to her. "How do you feel about me?" she asked, barely above a whisper. Gabriel's eyes held hers. "I love you, Emma," he said simply. "I think I have almost from the beginning." The words hung between them, honest and vulnerable. Emma felt tears spring to her eyes. "You don't have to say anything," Gabriel added quickly. "I just wanted you to know." But Emma did have something to say. She leaned across the console and kissed him softly, her heart racing as his hand came up to gently cup her face. When they parted, she smiled through her tears. "I love you too," she admitted, "and it terrifies me." "Why?" he asked, brushing a tear from her cheek. "Because I've never had anything this good in my life," she said. "And I'm scared of losing it." "Of losing you?" "You won't lose me," Gabriel promised. "I'm not going anywhere, Emma. Not unless you want me to." 2 weeks later, Emma moved into the yellow house. Gabriel helped her pack and hired movers for the heavy lifting, respecting her insistence on paying for some of it herself. They compromised on a rental agreement that was well below market value, but still gave Emma the independence she needed. The art gallery, however, remained a dream for the future. Despite Gabriel's offer to help with financing, Emma wanted to wait until after the baby was born before making such a big commitment. As her due date approached, Emma's nesting instinct kicked into high gear. She arranged and rearranged the nursery, washed and folded tiny clothes, and stocked the freezer with meals for after the birth. Gabriel spent most of his free time at the house, often working from the second bedroom they'd set up as a home office. He had cut back his hours at work, delegating more responsibilities to his team so he could be available when Emma needed him. One evening, as they sat on the porch swing Gabriel had installed, Emma brought up something that had been on her mind. "We never talk about your infertility," she said gently. "Is that still... is it something you've come to terms with?" Gabriel was quiet for a moment. "I thought I had," he said finally. "I threw myself into work and convinced myself that a family wasn't in the cards for me. But then you came along and suddenly..." "Suddenly what?" Emma prompted when he trailed off. He looked at her, his eyes filled with emotion. "Suddenly I wanted it all again, not just any family, but a family with you." Emma took his hand, resting it on her rounded belly. "You know that this baby isn't biologically yours," she said softly. "But if you meant what you said about wanting to be there..." "I meant every word," Gabriel said firmly. "Then you will be this child's father," Emma said. "In all the ways that truly matter." Just then, the baby kicked against Gabriel's hand. His eyes widened in wonder. "Was that?" Emma nodded, smiling. "Someone saying hello." Gabriel's expression, as he felt the baby move, a mixture of awe, joy, and love, confirmed what Emma already knew in her heart. This man, who had come into her life by chance, would be the father her child deserved. But fate, it seemed, wasn't finished testing them yet. The following week, Emma was organizing books in the nursery when the doorbell rang. She wasn't expecting anyone. Gabriel was at an important meeting in the city and wouldn't be back until evening. When she opened the door, she found herself face to face with a tall, handsome man who looked vaguely familiar. "Can I help you?" she asked. The man stared at her, his eyes dropping to her pregnant belly, then back to her face. "I'm looking for Gabriel Winters," he said. "I was told I might find him here." "He's not home right now," Emma said cautiously. "Who are you?" "I'm Marcus," the man said. "Marcus Reynolds." "And I think..." He hesitated, then continued. "I think I might be the father of your baby." Emma felt the blood drain from her face. Marcus, her summer romance, the man who had disappeared without a trace, the biological father of her child, standing on her doorstep, looking at her as if he had every right to be there. "How did you find me?" she managed to ask. It wasn't easy, Marcus admitted. I've been trying to track you down for months. When I came back from overseas, I went to your old apartment, but you'd moved. Then I saw a photo of you with Gabriel Winters in some tech magazine. They mentioned his pregnant girlfriend but didn't name you. I had to do some digging to find this address. Emma's mind raced. A photo? Magazine? She and Gabriel had been careful to keep their relationship private. "What do you want, Marcus?" she asked, her protective instincts flaring. "I want to talk," he said, his tone softening. "When I left last summer, I didn't know about the baby. If I had known, I never would have disappeared like that." "Well, now you know," Emma said, her voice hard. "But it's a little late, don't you think?" Marcus looked genuinely remorseful. "I know I messed up, but I want to make it right. I want to be part of my child's life." Emma felt a chill run through her. After all these months of planning and preparing, of building a life with Gabriel, Marcus's sudden appearance threatened everything. "You should go," she said, starting to close the door. Marcus put his hand out, stopping the door. "Emma, please, just hear me out. I'm not asking to get back together or anything like that. I just want a chance to know my child." Before Emma could respond, another voice cut in. "I think you should take your hand off that door." Gabriel stood at the bottom of the porch steps, his expression calm, but his eyes glacial. Marcus turned, sizing up the newcomer. "You must be Winters." "And you're trespassing," Gabriel replied evenly, climbing the steps to stand beside Emma. "Is everything okay?" he asked her softly. Emma nodded, though she felt anything but okay. "This is Marcus," she said, "the baby's biological father." Gabriel's face revealed nothing, but Emma felt his body tense beside her. "I see," he said. "And what brings you here after all this time, Marcus?" Marcus looked between them, seeming to grasp the situation. "I just found out about the baby," he explained. "I've been overseas for work. By the time I got back and went looking for Emma, she'd moved." "And now you found her," Gabriel said. "Congratulations, but as you can see, she's moved on with her life." Marcus's expression hardened. "Look, I get that you two are together now and that's fine, but that's still my child she's carrying." "Biologically, yes," Gabriel acknowledged, "but a real father is someone who's there, who shows up, who puts his child's needs before his own. Where were you when Emma was sick every morning for weeks? Where were you at the doctor's appointments, or the birthing classes, or when she needed help setting up the nursery?" Marcus had no answer for that. "I think we all need to calm down," Emma interjected. "Marcus, now isn't a good time. If you want to talk, we can set up a meeting later with our lawyers present." Marcus looked surprised. "Lawyers?" "Emma, I'm not trying to cause trouble. I just want to be involved. And we'll discuss what that means," she said firmly. "But not like this. Not with you showing up unannounced at my home." Marcus hesitated, then nodded. "Fair enough. Can I give you my number?" Emma took his contact information, promising to be in touch, and watched as he walked back to his car. Only when he had driven away did she let out the breath she'd been holding. "Are you okay?" Gabriel asked, guiding her inside and closing the door. Emma sank onto the couch, her hands shaking. "I don't know," she admitted. "I never expected to see him again. I certainly never expected him to want to be involved." Gabriel sat beside her, taking her hands in his. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know that either," she said, feeling tears start to form. "Legally, he has rights. He's the biological father. But you—" She looked at Gabriel, her voice breaking. "You're the one who's been here. You're the one who cares. You're the one I want to raise this child with." Gabriel pulled her close, his arms strong and steady around her. "Then that's what we'll do," he said. "Whatever happens with Marcus, whatever legal arrangements we need to make, we'll face it together. I'm not going anywhere, Emma. I promise you that." As she rested her head on his shoulder, Emma wanted desperately to believe him, but she couldn't shake the feeling that their perfect world was about to be turned upside down. The weeks following Marcus's appearance were tense. After consulting with a family law attorney, one Gabriel recommended but Emma insisted on paying for herself, they arranged a meeting to discuss Marcus's role in the baby's life. "He has parental rights," the lawyer, Ms. Patterson, explained during their consultation. But how those rights are exercised can be negotiated. The meeting took place in Miss Patterson's office, with Marcus bringing his own attorney. He seemed sincere in his desire to be involved, explaining that his own father had abandoned his family when he was young. "I don't want to be that kind of man," Marcus said. "I want to know my child." After hours of discussion, they reached a tentative agreement. Marcus would have visitation rights that would increase gradually as the baby got older. He would contribute financially to the child's upbringing, and major decisions would be made jointly, but primary custody would remain with Emma. As they were leaving, Marcus pulled Emma aside. "I want you to know," he said quietly, "I'm not trying to come between you and Winters. I can see he cares about you and the baby. I just want a chance to be part of my child's life." Emma nodded, appreciating his directness. "Thank you for saying that." On the drive home, Gabriel was unusually quiet. "What are you thinking?" Emma asked, reaching for his hand. He glanced at her, then back at the road. "I'm thinking that I want to marry you," he said simply. Emma's heart skipped a beat. "What?" Gabriel pulled the car over and turned to face her. "I know this isn't the romantic proposal you deserve, and I know the timing is complicated with Marcus back in the picture, but I love you, Emma. I want to build a life with you and this baby. I want us to be a family. Officially, legally, completely." Tears filled Emma's eyes. "You don't have to answer now," Gabriel said quickly. "I know it's a lot to process, but I wanted you to know where I stand." Emma looked at him, this man who had entered her life by chance and changed everything. "I don't need time," she said softly. Yes, I'll marry you." The joy that spread across Gabriel's face was like sunrise after a long night. He leaned across the console and kissed her, pouring all his love and hope into the gesture. When they broke apart, both smiling through tears, Emma added, "But not until after the baby comes. I refuse to waddle down the aisle." Gabriel laughed. "Whenever you want. I'm not going anywhere." As Emma entered her 8th month of pregnancy, her doctor ordered bed rest due to slightly elevated blood pressure. Gabriel immediately restructured his work schedule, setting up a temporary office in their home so he could be there for her. One afternoon, as Emma was napping, the doorbell rang. Gabriel opened it to find Marcus standing on the porch holding a large gift bag. "Is Emma available?" Marcus asked. "She's resting," Gabriel said. "Doctor's orders." Marcus nodded, looking concerned. "Is everything okay with the baby?" "Just a precaution," Gabriel assured him. "Her blood pressure is a bit high, so she's on bed rest for now." Marcus held out the bag. "I brought some things for the baby and for Emma. Just some books and art supplies. Things to help pass the time while she's resting." Gabriel hesitated, then stepped back. "Why don't you come in?" "She should be up soon." It was the first time the two men had been alone together. An awkward silence fell as they sat in the living room. "Nice place," Marcus commented, looking around. "Emma picked it," Gabriel said. "I just helped with the logistics." Marcus nodded, then cleared his throat. "Look, I know this situation isn't ideal for any of us, but I want you to know that I respect what you're doing for Emma and the baby." Gabriel studied the younger man. "You could have just disappeared again," he acknowledged. "It would have been easier." "Easier, maybe," Marcus agreed, "but not right. My dad walked out on us when I was 6. I swore I'd never do that to my own kid." For the first time, Gabriel felt a grudging respect for Marcus. The man had principles, at least. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said after a moment. Gabriel nodded. "How did you and Emma meet?" "It seems like an unlikely connection. A billionaire and an art teacher." Gabriel smiled slightly. "She sent me a text by mistake. A photo of her pregnancy test. She meant to send it to her friend." Marcus's eyebrows shot up. "Seriously? And you responded? Something about the message, the vulnerability of it. I couldn't just ignore it." "And now you're engaged," Marcus said, shaking his head. "Life is strange." "Very strange," Gabriel agreed. They heard movement from the hallway, and Emma appeared, looking sleepy and surprised to see Marcus. "What's going on?" she asked, one hand resting on her rounded belly. "Marcus brought some things for you and the baby," Gabriel explained, rising to help her to the couch. "I hope it's okay that I stopped by," Marcus said. "I would have called, but I was in the neighborhood." Emma settled onto the couch, and Gabriel automatically adjusted a pillow behind her back. The tenderness of the gesture wasn't lost on Marcus. "It's fine," Emma said. "What did you bring?" Marcus handed her the bag. Inside were several art books, a collection of premium-colored pencils, a soft blanket, and a small handmade wooden music box. "The music box was my grandmother's," Marcus explained, looking embarrassed. "It plays Brahms' lullaby. I thought the baby might like it." Emma touched the delicate box gently. "Thank you, Marcus. That's really thoughtful." An uncomfortable silence fell as the reality of their situation hung in the air. Three adults who would forever be connected through one child. "I should go," Marcus said, standing up. "I just wanted to drop those off. Let me know if you need anything, okay?" After he left, Emma turned to Gabriel. "That was civil." Gabriel nodded. "He seems to genuinely care about the baby." "Does that bother you?" Emma asked carefully. Gabriel considered the question. "No," he said finally. "Every child deserves to be loved. The more people who love this baby, the better." Emma leaned against him, feeling a surge of gratitude for this man who could be so secure in his love, so generous with his heart. "I don't deserve you," she whispered. Gabriel tilted her face up to his. "You deserve everything good in this world, Emma Castillo, and I intend to spend my life making sure you know that." 2 weeks later, in the middle of the night, Emma woke with a sharp pain across her abdomen. She lay still, waiting to see if it would happen again. When it did 5 minutes later, she gently shook Gabriel awake. "I think it's time," she said, trying to keep her voice calm despite the fear bubbling inside her. Gabriel was instantly alert. "Are you sure? You're not due for another 2 weeks." "The baby has other ideas," Emma said as another contraction gripped her. They had prepared for this moment. Hospital bag packed, route mapped out, birth plan discussed. But now that it was actually happening, both felt the surge of anticipation and anxiety that comes with such a life-changing event. Gabriel helped Emma to the car, his hands steady even as his heart raced. As they drove to the hospital, he kept glancing at her, checking to see if she was okay. "Stop looking at me like I'm about to explode," Emma said, attempting a smile despite the increasing pain. "Keep your eyes on the road." "Sorry," Gabriel said, gripping the steering wheel tighter. I need you both to be okay." Emma reached over and squeezed his arm. "We will be." At the hospital, things moved quickly. The nurse confirmed that Emma was indeed in active labor, already 6 centimeters dilated. "This baby's in a hurry," the nurse commented as she hooked up the fetal monitor. Hours passed in a blur of pain, breathing exercises, and quiet encouragement from Gabriel, who never left Emma's side. He held her hand through contractions, wiped her brow, and reminded her of her strength when she felt she couldn't go on. "I can't do this," Emma gasped after a particularly intense contraction. "You can," Gabriel said firmly. "You're the strongest person I know, Emma Castillo, and you're not alone. I'm right here with you." As morning light began to filter through the hospital blinds, the doctor announced it was time to push. 30 minutes later, the room filled with the powerful cry of a newborn baby. "It's a boy," the doctor announced, placing the squirming, red-faced infant on Emma's chest. Emma looked down at her son, overwhelmed by a love so fierce and immediate that it took her breath away. "He's perfect," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. She looked up at Gabriel, who was staring at the baby with an expression of pure wonder. "Do you want to hold him?" she asked softly. Gabriel nodded, unable to speak past the lump in his throat. When the nurse placed the tiny bundle in his arms, something shifted inside him. A space he hadn't known was empty suddenly filled to overflowing. "Hello, little one," he murmured, gently touching the baby's cheek. "I've been waiting so long to meet you." The nurse asked for a name for the birth certificate. Emma and Gabriel had discussed names extensively, but had kept their final choice private, waiting for this moment. "Noah," Emma said, her eyes meeting Gabriel's. "Noah Winters Castillo." It was perfect, acknowledging both his heritage and the future that awaited him. As Gabriel handed Noah back to Emma, the new mother whispered, "Thank you for being here. For everything." "There's nowhere else I'd rather be," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. Later, as Emma rested, Gabriel stepped into the hallway to make some calls. He texted Olivia, who promised to come by that afternoon. Then, after a moment's hesitation, he sent a message to Marcus, letting him know about Noah's arrival. Marcus's response was immediate. "Is everyone okay? Can I visit?" Gabriel looked back through the door at Emma, sleeping peacefully with Noah in the bassinet beside her. This was their family now. Unconventional, perhaps, but no less real or precious for it. "Tomorrow?" he texted back. "They need rest today." As he was about to go back into the room, a nurse approached with a clipboard. "Mr. Winters, we need a few more signatures for the birth certificate." Gabriel hesitated. "I'm not the biological father," he explained. The nurse nodded. "But you'll be listed as the father on the birth certificate." Miss Castillo indicated that was the plan. Gabriel felt a wave of emotion wash over him. He and Emma had discussed this, but he wasn't sure she'd go through with it, especially with Marcus back in the picture. "Yes," he said, his voice steady. "Yes, I'm his father." 3 days later, Emma and Noah came home from the hospital. Gabriel had prepared everything. The house was spotless, the nursery ready, the refrigerator stocked with meals. As Emma settled into the rocking chair to feed Noah, she looked around the sunny blue room, taking in the bookshelves now filled with children's stories, the handmade seafoam blanket from the farmer's market that Gabriel had secretly gone back to buy, and the small wooden music box from Marcus sitting on a shelf. It wasn't the life she had imagined for herself a year ago. It was better. Gabriel appeared in the doorway, watching them with a soft smile. "Comfortable?" he asked. Emma nodded. "Perfect. We're perfect." Later that afternoon, the doorbell rang. Gabriel opened it to find Marcus standing nervously on the porch, holding a bouquet of flowers and a small gift bag. "Is this a good time?" Marcus asked. "I can come back later if Emma's resting." "She's up," Gabriel said, stepping back to let him in. "They're in the living room." Marcus followed Gabriel, his steps hesitant. When he saw Emma on the couch with the tiny bundle in her arms, he stopped, clearly emotional. "Hey," Emma said softly. "Come meet your son." Marcus approached slowly, setting the flowers and gift on a side table. "He's so small," he whispered as he got his first look at Noah's face. "Would you like to hold him?" Emma offered. Marcus looked surprised, then nodded. He sat carefully beside Emma, and she placed Noah in his arms, showing him how to support the baby's head. "Hello there, Noah," Marcus said, his voice gentle. I'm your dad. One of them, anyway." He glanced up at Gabriel, who stood watching from across the room. There was no jealousy or resentment in Gabriel's expression, only understanding. "He has your eyes," Gabriel observed. Marcus nodded, clearly moved. "Thank you," he said, looking between Emma and Gabriel, "for letting me be part of this. I know it's not easy." "Family rarely is," Emma said. "But we'll figure it out for Noah's sake." As Marcus handed Noah back to Emma, he said, "I wanted to tell you both. I've accepted a job in Seattle. It's a good opportunity, but it means I won't be around as much as I'd planned." Emma and Gabriel exchanged a glance. "We can work something out," Emma assured him. "Video calls, scheduled visits. Noah will know you're his father, Marcus." "And he'll know how much you care," Gabriel added, "that you came back, that you wanted to be in his life. That matters." Marcus looked at Gabriel with new respect. "Take care of them," he said simply. "With everything I have," Gabriel promised. After Marcus left, Gabriel sat beside Emma, putting his arm around her and looking down at their son. "Are you okay?" he asked. Emma leaned her head on his shoulder. "I'm more than okay. I'm grateful. A year ago, I was alone and terrified. Now look at us. A family, Gabriel murmured, kissing the top of her head. All because of a wrong number, Emma said with a smile. The best mistake I ever made. Gabriel agreed. Noah stirred in Emma's arms, his tiny face scrunching up before relaxing again into sleep. Emma thought about the journey that had brought them here, the fear and uncertainty of that positive pregnancy test, the accidental text that had changed everything, the challenges they'd faced and overcome together. She thought of the message she'd sent that day, words typed in desperation. I'm pregnant. I'm terrified. I don't know what to do. And she thought of Gabriel's reply, the words that had opened the door to this new life. I don't know who you are, but I received your message. If you're looking for someone to listen without judgment, I'm here. Sometimes a stranger is easier to talk to than those closest to us. He had been true to his word. He had helped. He had been there. He had listened. And in doing so, he had given her something she'd never expected to find. A partner, a family, a home. As the afternoon sunlight streamed through the windows of the little yellow house, casting a golden glow over the three of them, Emma knew with absolute certainty that this was where she belonged. This was her family. This was her future. And it had all begun with a message sent by mistake. 6 months later, on a perfect spring morning, Emma stood in the back room of Castillo Gallery, her art space now, thanks to a business loan that Gabriel had co-signed but insisted she manage herself. The grand opening was scheduled for noon, and she was simultaneously excited and terrified. Are you ready? Olivia asked, adjusting the grand opening banner one last time. As I'll ever be, Emma replied, smoothing down her dress. The front door chimed, and Gabriel walked in, carrying Noah in his baby carrier. At 6 months old, he was alert and curious, his eyes, so like Marcus's, taking in everything around him. The photographer is set up outside, Gabriel reported, setting Noah's carrier on the counter. And there's already a line forming. Emma's eyes widened. Really? Really? He confirmed with a smile. Turns out people are excited about having an art gallery in the neighborhood again. Olivia excused herself to check on the refreshments, leaving Emma and Gabriel alone with Noah. I couldn't have done this without you, Emma said, gesturing around the beautifully renovated gallery. Yes, you could have. Gabriel contradicted her gently. You're the most determined person I know, but I'm glad I got to be part of it. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. I have something for you. A wedding present. They had been married 2 weeks earlier in a small ceremony in the garden behind their house. Marcus had flown in for the occasion, bringing a beautiful hand-carved toy boat for Noah that he'd commissioned from a local artist in Seattle. What is it? Emma asked, taking the box. Open it and see. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet with a single charm, a tiny smartphone. To remind you, Gabriel said softly, of the message that brought us together. Emma felt tears spring to her eyes as he fastened the bracelet around her wrist. It's perfect, she whispered. Noah cooed from his carrier, and both turned to look at their son, who was watching them with bright, curious eyes. What do you think, sweetheart? Emma asked, lifting Noah into her arms. Is Mommy ready to be a gallery owner? Noah responded by grabbing a strand of Emma's hair and tugging it, making both adults laugh. I think that's a yes, Gabriel said, putting his arm around them both. As they prepared to open the doors for the grand opening, Emma looked around at the life she had built, her son in her arms, her husband by her side, her own gallery about to welcome its first customers. A year ago, standing in her tiny bathroom with a positive pregnancy test, she couldn't have imagined any of this. One message sent to the wrong number had changed everything. Sometimes, Emma reflected, the most beautiful beginnings came from mistakes. And sometimes the people who showed up unexpectedly in your life turned out to be exactly the ones you needed all along. Ready? Gabriel asked, his hand on the door. Emma took a deep breath and nodded. Ready. Together, they stepped forward to greet whatever came next, secure in the knowledge that whatever challenges the future held, they would face them the same way they had faced everything else, together as a family. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.